Welcome to Joyful Jen Yoga. Today we're going to break down Chaturanga Dandasana, which is that transition that you find a lot in vinyasa classes, from high plank down into that kind of half push-up, or sometimes all the way down to the ground. So I want to offer some options, some variations, things you can do in your home practice, but also things you can take with you to a studio, especially if it tends to be more of a quick, fast-paced vinyasa or power class where it's simply kind of calling out instructions and not giving a lot of alignment cues. And this can be really helpful so that you can keep your shoulders happy and healthy and stay connected through your core. So from your shoulders to your hips, really thinking about noticing the different places in your body that need to be active and engaged. That way you can have a lifelong yoga practice without injury. That's what we all want. So a couple of different things that we'll have today. If you have these at home, great. If you don't worry about it. They're just options, ways to give you some kind of proprioceptive feedback without a teacher's physical assist or being able to necessarily have somebody cueing you personally. So one thing that you can do, either using a yoga strap or even like the belt off of a robe works if you tie it off. But if you have a yoga strap, you can take the tail of the strap and pull it through the rings, and then skip the first ring, go through the second, and you make a loop. And the loop will end up being about shoulder distance apart. So have to finagle it a little bit. It's a hair too wide for me, so I just kind of snug it down a little bit. We'll put this to the side for a second because we won't use it quite yet. We'll have a bolster, which could also look like a pillow, and blocks, which could look like anything that might work creatively, like dictionaries work really well if people even still have those, who knows. But you can get these types of yoga blocks at Target, so they're accessible. So we'll start on all fours. Slide your pillow off the side. We'll have hands underneath shoulders. And just like we were coming into cat-cow, we can inhale, pull heart forward, exhale, round in, just to notice. Notice what it feels like to really arch your back, and notice what it feels like to really round your back. We want to be somewhere in between where we're really well engaged. We'll walk our hands about a handprint forward and then draw forward. Now, one of the things I notice most often in my students, they tend to come into some sort of saggy thing like this, and that is not good for any of your joints, and your core is not active. So what you can do is really press the ground away, pull your ribs up slightly, and then lift that space right below your belly button up towards your spine. If you're not sure what shape I mean, all you have to do is tuck your toes and come into a high plank. And then knees can come back to the ground. Shift forward, your heart continues to pull forward, and then you lower down to the ground. Now the cool thing here is that all you have to do is look. Where did my fingertips land? Where are my palms? If you find that your hands are way far forward of your shoulders, something didn't work out. Even if your hands are close under your shoulders, you still didn't shift far enough forward onto your toes if you were in plank, or onto your knees if you have your knees down. So you really want your hands down by your chest with your elbows pulling straight back. So if you find that your elbows have winged out, let's snug them back in. So from here, a really great kind of strengthening move to practice, which can be very frustrating because it doesn't always happen the first few times, or first 100 for that matter. We start by tucking our toes. Heart pulls forward. You're continuing to pull sternum toward the front of your space as elbows pull back. Knees stay on the ground, but you imagine that your hips and belly lift up off the ground, even if they don't. And then you try to press up in one long line of energy. The opposite looks like kind of like a banana, where you lift your shoulders And then you don't engage your core at all, you just strain your back and come up to all fours. So to be sure that your arms are where you want them to be, we'll slide our strap around our upper arms. Or you could take one of those, any sort of belt really, and just tie it so that it's in the proper distance. So you want the strap to be right above your elbows so that when you bend them, they're kind of on the lower end of your biceps. So we'll take our hands down, coming into a high plank, and then let the knees come down again. From here, you pull your chest forward, almost like you're trying to pull your heart in front of your arms, and then lower down. Now there's a place where you simply can't lower much farther, and that's awesome. Inhale, lift back up. So the strap has prevented you from going into that space that we see all too often, where your bum sticks up in the air and you kind of lower down and all the weight is on your shoulders. We want to avoid that, creating more of a 90-degree bend in your elbows if possible. So it looks like a very similar shape, but with your knees up off of the ground. So you can bring your strap back up if you took it off. And same action, knees up or down, lower halfway. And then you can flip the tops of your feet, or flip your toes, come to the tops of your feet, and arrive in an upward facing dog. So using core, you transition back into down dog. Now, if you don't have a strap handy, the other thing that you can do just to give yourself a little bit more of kind of a visual tactile reminder is take blocks if you have them, so that they end up kind of hitting right around your shoulders. And we'll pull them to the top of the mat. You want to have enough space for your head. You'll have your hands down, shift forward, and lower so that your shoulders end up on the blocks. You can do this as well with your knees down. So it could look like shifting forward, lowering, lifting up, playing with some push-ups, that's always fun. I clearly need to do more of those. Or you can do it with your knees up. And it just gives you a little bit of feedback. The other thing you could do, if you have pillows, is maybe take blocks, depending on if you have a pillow or a thick bolster. If you have a thick bolster, you won't need the blocks. But you can build up a little space for your body to end up on. So you can come down, come onto your tiptoes, and lower. And again, it gives you that feedback. This is about where I want my body to be. Now the fun part is look, Ma, no hands. You can kind of rest here and just get where your body ought to be. And then you can untuck your toes and pull up here into an up dog, but your pelvis might still stay on the pillow or the bolster. So it's a nice transition space to play with what shape you're looking for without getting too fatigued by practicing Chaturanga over and over again. Eventually, we'll find ourselves knees up or down, shifting forward, lowering halfway, and then pulling your heart forward, coming into up dog or cobra, whatever feels safer in your back. And there you go. A little tutorial, some options, some choices to play with so that you're finding that Chaturanga, that transition we see often in vinyasa, power and flow classes, so you can do that safely. I wish you all abundant joy. Namaste.